Walker's Creek Park.
Well, good morning. This is Walk and Talk Sunday. I'm Steven Detweiler, or if we're on Rumble, I'm the Detweiler. I am the Detweiler. There's a funny story behind that. I'm at Walker's Creek Park, and this is the starting point. It's already 85, so I'm going to stay in the shade today. So I'm going to walk to the beginning, back to here, to the beginning, back to here. And that is 1 mile. And that's what we're going to do today. Over there is activity. There's some ball games going on over there. I might consider walking that direction just to watch a little ball game, but you know, that's just something t'other, and that's what we'll do. But right now, we're gonna go for a walk, and yeah, the Detweiler. You know, like I said, this is a pretty cool park. It's definitely a pretty cool park that's shoved right in the middle of concrete villages, but they made a good park out of this, and so I was at work. Gosh, we're talking so many years have passed since I worked for this ministry, but I was reading mail and processing it, and you know, we had a good group of people, and it was Priscilla Hooley. I think she was just such a good, I think she's still alive, so I think she's probably still a really good person. But I forget what happened, and she turned around and she said something like, "Ask the Detweiler," or "The Detweiler has it." And from that point on, I was like, yes, I'm the Detweiler. So, and everybody laughed, the Detweiler. So that's where the Detweiler came about, and so that's my Rumble name, the Detweiler, and maybe I'll just end up being the Detweiler. But that's cool, and if you're, maybe I'll just change the YouTube to the Detweiler, and that will be my marketing. You know, this quote by the Detweiler. It might work. I don't know. So, a lot of things have gone on this week. You know, even this year, I didn't look up the statistics, but it's like there's been more shootings just in this year. I think it was just in this year, and I may be wrong on the timing, whether it's the whole Biden administration or just this year, than all of the 4 years of the Trump administration. You know, it is, you know, I grieve for the families, but people have to realize there's a whole nother agenda. There's a whole nother, these shootings are about a globalist agenda. These shootings are about a globalist agenda. And you gotta understand, people in America seem to be in some kind of bubble where you don't think that evil takes place. If you go around the world, you see evil taking place all the time. You see governments killing people all the time. People have no value to the elite power structure. You think children have value to them? The only value they have is to be pawns, to be able to use them to be able to promote their agenda. Hi, squirrel. Hi, squirrel. How you doing, squirrel? Good, squirrel. And you know, we need to, as a people, to wake up and to understand that, you know, evil is afoot. It's happening. You know, they say down in that town that's a tragedy. Well, yes, it's a tragedy, but the biggest tragedy is that Americans haven't figured this out. That Americans have not figured this out. And I'm going to, this is for my walk, but this is also for, I'm going to read you something from that I posted on the Facebook. Let me pull up the Facebook, the Detweiler and the Facebook, because that's what I do. I am the Detweiler and the Facebook. And so I gotta keep walking because okay, let me read this to you. And this was my response to what's going on. And so much more. There's so much more to what is going on with these shootings. We are coming into the midterm elections. The one world elite cannot take over America while Americans are still armed. And that's the truth. That's why the founders gave us the First and Second Amendments. Okay, I'm going to get into that, I think. The one world elite cannot take over America while Americans are still armed. Biden actually came out and said, during this tragedy, Biden actually came out and said that the Second Amendment is not absolute. He's trying to tell us that the Constitution that we live by and we have supported and defended all this time, that's set up by our founders, all this time, is not absolute. Second Amendment isn't absolute, and to these leftist elitists, world elitists, First Amendment isn't absolute, because that's why they're using the tech giants to limit free speech. Thank God for Elon Musk. You know, I hope he has given his life to the Lord. You know, people are, oh, he's a conservative, no, he's a liberal. No, Elon Musk, I mean, he's an independent, but he sees the destruction and the tragedy coming to America through the left's agenda and the world elite agenda. Now, Elon Musk has his own agenda, and that is, he feels that what he's doing is to help humanity. And one of the things he desires to do is to be able to set up a viable place on Mars that we can travel through the universe. And so he's got great vision, and that's cool. And he's also saying, hey, America has been a place that has helped humanity greater than any other political system, the system of the free market society. And there's a difference between the free market society and a capitalist society. The capitalism is another ism, and that's a trap, and that's also slavery. Because, and I'm going to tell you the difference, the free market society, read Adam Smith, go back. People need to read the writings of the founders and how our nation was founded. They need to say, okay, this is how our nation was founded, and this is how we're going to stand on our foundation. Read Adam Smith. The free market society. And in the free market society grows, okay, in prosperity, successful through free trade, through the markets. However, he said, there's got to be a moral compass. This experiment of the free market society cannot work without the moral compass, and he was referring to Jesus Christ, the moral compass of the morality that is given to us in the Word of God. And he was postulating the fact that with a moral compass, those leaders that create the businesses, that own the businesses, that are over the businesses, that they would see their success in the livelihoods, in the living standard, in the success of their people. I think Sam Walton was one of the last leaders to actually understand this. And you saw how when Sam passed away, Robert and his sons and the rest of them just quickly changed everything that Sam had put in place for the success and honor of his associates. And it became, once again, slave labor, where you can't make a livable wage. Yes, and I'm sorry, conservatives, but in the free market society, yes, everybody would be heralded as great leaders if each one of their employees had a livable wage. That's the whole point, is that success is in the success of the people and the standard of which they are living. If you are a business owner, a business creator, and you've raised X amount of people out of poverty and that they're living very well, that's your success. Capitalism says use the people at the lowest rate that you can possibly use them, benefit yourself at the top, and benefit your stockholders. Capitalism is about stockholders' success and the business leader, the CEO, the president or owner of the company, and how they are successful. One is selfish and one is selfless. The free market society is selfless because it is building businesses to the success of the people working in the businesses. And capitalism is at using physical labor and people for the benefits of a few, those at the top and those in that have ownership through stock value. They don't value people. They don't value the livelihoods of people. They only value what is at the top, and that is capitalism, and that is not what this country was founded on. So stop crying capitalism, capitalism. Let's start crying free market society, which is ruled by the morality that is given to us in the written word of God. That is the difference between capitalism and the free market society. So let me go back to this. Biden has come out and said the Second Amendment is not absolute, and it just in that statement alone says that guess what, we are going to do whatever it takes to convince the American people to give up the Second Amendment for safety reasons. Okay, now that is very odd to me, considering that the reason we have the First and Second Amendment. Well, let me read this out to you, and then we'll get into that. Robert Francis O'Rourke, who likes to be referred to as Beto, the biggest gun grabber, is running against Governor Abbott, and we have 2 shootings here in Texas this year. And think about that. You think that's coincidence? Do you honestly think that's a coincidence? Every election year we have this garbage, and you think this is a coincidence? Wake up. This year, you know this is going to be in the campaign, right? You do know that's going to. Beto had nothing to run on. Robert Francis O'Rourke had nothing to run on because Governor Abbott has done a grade A, grade B plus, grade A job for Texas, and he's been a good governor, and there's absolutely no reason at his job performance to relieve him of his job. And that's what it is. We say you have a good job performance, you can keep your job. And so Beto had nothing to run on, nothing at all to run on. And so now all of a sudden, guess what? Election season's coming up, and now guess who has something to run on? All right, let me get back to, okay, so you know it's gonna be, so the tactic is to convince the population to give up their constitutional rights, i.e. free speech, Second Amendment, okay? Because we see that in big tech. Big tech is limiting people's free speech. A totalitarian government, a government of tyranny, will only allow you to hear their propaganda of what you are to think and how you are to think. What you think, how you think. And you cannot hear or see another view because that's not their truth. Okay? So, in a government of tyranny, totalitarianism, fascism, communism, you have to toe the line of how you think and speak. Okay, so you can't have free speech. And you certainly can't have a Second Amendment that's going to stop a government of tyranny from enforcing their truth of tyranny upon you. So this is all about getting rid of your constitutional rights, i.e. free speech, Second Amendment, etc., for the sake of safety. For the sake of safety. We've got to be safe. We've got to be safe. But the thing is, the thing we have to be safe from is the very government that's trying to say, hey, if you give up your rights, we're going to give you safety. They're the ones that we need safety from, okay? We carry for personal safety. We are armed to the teeth to keep us safe from the rising government of tyranny over the people. The First and Second Amendment are there for this time that the Founder Fathers knew would come. Stay strong, speak freely, stay armed, and stand for America, the sovereign God in Jesus Christ, for he gave us this country. Okay, so stand for the America the sovereign God in Jesus Christ gave us. And part of that standing is free speech, and part of that standing is being armed to the teeth, because the founders knew that at some point people of evil desires that only want power over people and only want power for themselves would rise up and pervert everything this nation has stand for. And we're right in that time. Evil will continue to increase and abound, but through the body of Christ, grace will much more abound. God's grace gives us the strength and the ability to stand against evil in all its forms. Take on the whole armor of God and stand. And that's what we got to do. We got to take on the whole armor of God and stand. We are in a time right now, and like I said, the tragedy, it is tragic that people have lost their lives. The children. Safety for the children. Well, I believe it was in 1990 when it was the liberals, the Democrats, that passed through the legislation and created gun-free zones. They made the legislation of gun-free zones. You know what a gun-free zone is? A gun-free zone is a place just like you go to the carnival and you're shooting fish in a barrel. In other words, there's no place for that those fish to go, and there's no one to stop the shooter. Like shooting fish in a barrel. And that's exactly what gun-free zones have been. They've proven to have been that since that legislation has taken place. How many mass shootings have come in gun-free zones? The majority, 90, I mean, I gotta look up statistics, but I'm gonna say my guess is at least 90% of all these so-called mass shootings are in gun-free zones. And you know who actually was the leader of that legislation, I believe, was no other than Joe Biden. Joe Biden led the cause for shooting in a barrel, fish being shot in a barrel for gun-free zones. That's Joe Biden. Been a world elite puppet for 50 years. Still is. We saw that video where they're having a meeting. Obama's there. So-called President Biden is there, and Obama's there. Well, who is everybody talking to? Leaving Joe Biden to walk around aimlessly like the old doddering fool that he is. Obama. So remember, Obama never left Washington, D.C. His plan was to be there and direct Hillary through what's going on right now. Okay? This is the strategy of the world elite, coming down from people like Soros, the Rothschilds, so forth and so on, to gain compliance over the United States by bringing down the United States, rushing the border, open borders. We had it under Obama. And immediately you see when they placed Biden in the White House, how fast everything reverted back to the Obama strategies. You look at what Saul Alinsky wrote and others. They're using the playbooks of how to take over a nation, how to crash a nation, and it's working. And unfortunately, so much of our population is actually falling for it. Hook, line, and sinker. We had 4 years of prosperity in between, and that was God saying, hey, I want to show you the difference of what's going on. You don't have to fall for the policies that are destroying the nation. And he showed us that through the Trump administration. And he showed us that we could still be America, that we can still be America first and Americans first. And us being Americans first and bringing things back home and building ourselves back up in the right way, putting ourselves first, then we can help people in other nations. But you know what? You cannot bring people onto a sinking ship and think you're doing the right thing, because all he's going to do is you're all going to sink together. And that's exactly what they're doing. Just think if we had, you know, get rid of the legislation of gun-free zones. Number one, repeal that. And number two, instead of sending billions and billions of our dollars around the globe, the time for sending billions and billions of dollars of our money around the globe is far since past. Far since past. And guess what? We're $30 trillion in debt. They are trying and very successfully succeeding in crashing our nation. And we will crash, we will default, we will go to war. Those are the only things that happen when an empire becomes that in debt. And then we, the people, will suffer tremendously. And I know myself right now, you know, God is my supply. He meets my need according to his riches and glory in Christ Jesus. But I have had to make significant sacrifices in terms of of being able to go places because of the doubling, almost tripling of gas. So I'm doing church online right now, and being able to just go shopping and buy the things that I would like to buy. I've had to cut that back. I have to stay on a very strict budget. COVID put me a couple $1,000s in debt, and so now I'm trying to figure out how to pay off debt while my expenses have gone up a net $280 a month, and my pay has gone up a net $32 a month. Well, under Trump, at what I made, I was living okay, man. I could go get a latte, or I could get the things I wanted at the store without too much worry about it, and stay within budget. And 16 months after the fascists, the tyranny, the tyrannical agenda has taken over, I am just struggling to figure out what I can and cannot buy at the grocery store and be able to pay my rent, which has gone up another $56 a month. That's part of that 280. So yeah, people, you need to realize what's going on. You all need to wake up, and we all need to smell the coffee. And that coffee smell ain't good, man. That's a Folgers coffee, and that don't smell so good when it's compared to a true roast. And we just need to say, okay, our founders set us up. We need to, and on Memorial Day, I mean, we talk about Vietnam vets, World War II vets. I want to talk about our founding vets, the founders that fought for this nation, that gave us the Second Amendment, that gave us the First Amendment, that gave us all the amendments, that gave us our Constitution, unalienable rights in God. Let's talk about those vets. Let's have a memorial and a remembrance for them, because they have asked us through their writings and the documents that they left us to stand for what they gave us as a foundation. We, the people, need to put these politicians back in their place, and we need to rule and reign in this nation based on our foundation. And that's my rant for Sunday Walk and Talk with the Detweiler. I'm the Detweiler. That's so funny. God bless you. I'll see you next time.